And this week we're talking about IV nutrition.
Yes.
Which is something new that you've been offering now that you've added Angie to the team.
Yes, Angie is our new nurse practitioner, and she has been doing IV nutrition for a while. How many years?
So I've been doing IV nutrition for 8 years, but I've been in the medical profession for 14 and been studying alternative health kind of in the same right as you since I was 14. So it's a privilege. I've been able to help a lot of people here on the Gulf Coast with IV nutrition and alternative health conversations for the past decade. And I'm so excited to be with Dr. Fox and Dr. Fox putting our heads together, and we've made some improvements recently.
The Doctor's Fox.
The Doctor's Fox. That's it. Yeah.
Well, so let's tell us a little bit about. Let's get started with the conversation. IV nutrition.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So intravenous vitamin therapy is a fantastic tool that's available to us. We need so much more antioxidants than we get through the standard American diet. Most people are starting to realize that nutrition is the foundation, lifestyle, but this is a great tool that we can use for people who have impaired absorption issues, maybe related to dysbiosis or a bad balance of bacteria in the gut, which is very common. Some prescription medications that are handed out long-term that really shouldn't be cause absorption issues. We have a lot of patients with Crohn's. We have had over the years women who have had gastric bypass surgeries and other types of issues of that nature with impaired absorption that I've been able to help. So it's a great option.
Impaired absorption. So I know I have a little bit of an issue with that because I take a medication that stops my ability to process and absorb the nutrients that I take. So what are some of the things that, some of the symptoms that people might be noticing in their own lives that might be a good conversation starter for this?
Yes. So the majority of people that I help that come back again and again, they tout benefits such as reduced inflammation, improved cognitive function, and mood. I'm really...
That's everything.
Yes.
So basically when you wake up.
We could all stand to be a little nicer and smarter.
Sure.
I understand a lot more people are having the conversation about inflammation being the cause of disease. I've recently done a deep dive into how neuroinflammation is really affecting cognition and mood, and been able to help a lot of people with that. So it's been pretty exciting. But it works better for joint inflammation than any prescription anti-inflammatory I was ever on. Part of my story is I've had autoimmune condition since I was in high school, 14, when I started studying all this and trying to maneuver it. And it works better than the Mobic. It works better than the Motrin. It actually can go in and reduce inflammation without those side effects. So great for anti-aging as well as immediate benefits.
Now that's not anti-maturing. We all want to stay on that train.
We all want to get wiser and have more birthdays.
We just don't want to look like we're getting wiser.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So doctors, Fox, this is like you guys have been doing this for a long time. So what is different about this that made you think maybe this is something we need to offer?
Well, actually, IV nutrition is something we've been kind of involved with for years and years and years. Not that we've done it, but my dad 26 years ago had a brain hemorrhage, and they gave him very little chance to live and said that if he lived, he'd be a vegetable. So I actually called Dr. Perlmutter, which at the time was the biggest known neurologist out there, and he was still practicing. And I asked him if he thought that IV nutrition would help my dad. And he said, well, actually, he's so bad, I don't think it will, but it ain't gonna hurt to try if you have somebody that will do it. So I was lucky enough to have a neurosurgeon that actually ordered it, and so he immediately started getting it after a brain hemorrhage. He was in a coma for 8 weeks. I mean, real, one step from brain dead is what they kept telling me every single day when they tested him. But he was still getting his IV nutrition. He was getting glutathione was one of the main things, and Perlmutter is actually kind of known for glutathione. That's kind of his thing. And he did get IV vitamin C, IV B vitamins. So that's kind of was the protocol he did. And when my dad woke up out of the coma, he talked without a slur. Yes.
That's a big deal.
It was amazing. So IV nutrition, we found out then what it could do. But with our license, we're actually licensed as chiropractors. We cannot do IVs. And honestly, when we hired Angie, it was really not to do that. It was just to get help and help us with what we needed at the office. And when she was so proficient at doing IVs and she had done it for so long, that's when we decided to add it.
And it is like taking, so a lot, you mentioned glutathione, which you can get on the shelves. It just kind of takes what you do and just like ratchets it up a little bit.
Like I said,
it's
it just,
direct to the vein.
when you get 100% absorption, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, you count that out. I mean, you're not absorbing it. You're putting it where it needs to be.
You don't have to pass that.
And
barrier.
actually, for years,
It is the barrier.
years ago, when Dr. Perlmutter was still practicing, he has not practiced in years, we would send people to Florida to go, because he would actually teach someone in the family how to IV their glutathione, and then they could go get the prescription from him. So we have actually sent people for it. We were just unable to do it ourselves. And so we've always done it with supplements, and we definitely say, the IVs don't replace your supplements because you want your day-to-day supplements. IV is kind of basically a really big hit at one time. Yeah. It's kind of, if you want to say. And, something like with what my dad had. And we have seen strokes have huge differences when people have glutathione. We really have. There's some of the neurological problems that you'll see with brain injuries and Parkinson's and things like that glutathione is pretty much almost an instant. I sent somebody last week in Houston. One of our long-term customers had a mild stroke. She called and was like, what can I do? And we put her on some extra supplements, but at the same time I said, find somebody in Houston that does IV glutathione. And she did, and she called back and was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the difference I felt after one treatment. Now, the thing is, they charged a whole lot more than we do. I couldn't believe what she paid for that. What we charged $50 for, she paid $275. Mm-hmm. So
that's Houston.
That is in Houston. It's in a big city, exactly.
So we're not sending anybody to Houston.
No.
You don't have to, because
you don't
now
have
we're going to
to
send them to Angie, which is just right across the shelf.
Exactly.
Right. You don't have to get in the car and go somewhere just to walk around the corner.
Exactly.
Yeah. What kinds of, or what types of IV therapies do you offer?
Yeah. So we are now doing IV glutathione push, which is a much faster service. One reservation that a lot of patients have is we generally tell them it takes about an hour to get an IV. However, the glutathione IV push is just a quick 15-minute in and out where you can get 1,000 milligrams of that high-dose antioxidant. Glutathione, some of the benefits, anti-inflammatory, anti-aging. I've used it in beauty IVs before, so there are multiple benefits to that.
Beauty IV?
Oh, yes.
That sounds very boutique.
I think
it is.
I could take an IV or two of those.
Yeah, maybe both of them.
You gentlemen are plenty pretty, but we also are doing the intravenous vitamin C, which I mentioned is one of my favorites. It's the best thing I've ever found for chronic inflammation. We do B vitamins, which helps a lot with cognition. Magnesium helps with mood, muscle recovery. We're doing amino acids, which are great for gut health, vascular function, energy, cardiac health.
Oh, yeah.
And beauty as well. But NAD is a real big buzzword recently, nicotine adenosine dioxide. It is a coenzyme that diminishes as we gain wisdom and have birthdays, but it is involved in energy production. A lot of people see great results with cognitive issues, ADHD, anxiety, depression. It's been used in opioid and alcohol abuse disorders. It is a wonderful aid in cellular detoxification. So there's not a single system it doesn't help to work better. So we do offer NAD intravenous as well as for injection. That's one that we have the capacity to find your appropriate dosing regimen, and you can even have shipped to the home, which gives you a little bit more of a attainable economic way to reach that. The lipo-B injections have been popular for a long time. When I worked in obesity medicine, even patients who were on prescription medicine swore that it helped better. It's not a magic bullet, but it is a great adjunct to lifestyle interventions to regulate metabolism, including diet and exercise. And when you come in, we're going to talk to you and keep you accountable about that. But includes B12, and we're doing a little different as well. It's methylcobalamin, the highly absorbable form, instead of the synthetic cyanocobalamin that most boutique places are doing. It also has amino acids, methionine and choline, that aid in the formation of lean muscle and support the liver, reducing fatty stores on the liver, like what's associated with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. When I think weight loss, I think liver support. You want to be really nice to your liver. It has a lot of jobs. You definitely want him on your team. So whatever we can do to support that. So many of us are bogged down with environmental toxins that we're just not designed to assimilate. So that is supportive for your weight loss efforts, combined with inositol, which is a nutrient that is involved in blood sugar metabolism. And it does have a mild appetite suppressant for some patients, which just gives you that little extra edge while you're making those lifestyle interventions.
That was a lot of information.
Yeah.
So you guys do a little bit of IV stuff, is what I'm hearing. So you mentioned something about vitamin C, and I know that we talk about taking vitamin C and how so much of the body isn't able to absorb it. We talk about liposomal C. This gets past all of that because it's literally a direct shot. Everything that we're talking about here passes all of those barriers where your body, doesn't absorb it. It just digests it and sends it through the system, and you get rid of it. These things are getting past that.
Yes, so many people are having absorption issues, but we also do have a higher demand related to chronic illness and environmental toxin exposure. Your body's constantly trying to protect these cells with antioxidants and these cofactors that are involved in nutritional processes, and they're just not optional. That's why a lot of people who have that chronic fatigue, burnout, just don't wake up feeling right and notice such a big benefit from it. It's definitely been life-changing.
There's nothing that makes me happier than waking up not feeling right. So I'll tell you, it is. I have been kind of on this journey in the last couple of years since I've been doing this show. I've learned a significantly larger amount than I knew before I sat down at this desk, and I have. I just did a blood work panel, a big one, and got my wrist slapped. I'm not scared to say, and I have to continue. Some things were better. Yeah. Some things were worse.
Things that were related to what we put you on were better.
Yes.
And things that were related to your diet were not.
Yes, they didn't put me on sugar. They didn't put me on sugar. I don't know. I feel like, and going through this weekend, because I just, like today is where I'm starting everything, like lifestyle
And we do find
changes.
that that's one of the hardest things people have to do is change your diet.
What I've noticed for me, I think, because I don't eat a lot of sugar, what I've noticed is I think it's a lot of the bread and pasta.
Carbohydrates.
I think it's a lot of,
and that's
I don't eat a lot of it, but I eat enough of it.
Yeah.
Where that little change from last year to this year makes sense.
A difference.
I ate more of it this weekend than I probably have eaten in a while.
Because you knew you were giving it up
Because
today.
I know that this is about to be my Lent, I guess, if you will. So yeah, I didn't put any honey or sugar in my coffee this morning, and it angered me, but I did what I had to do. It was just espresso and milk. I guess that's okay. I guess I'm headed down that path anyway. As you get older, you just start getting closer and closer to just plain black coffee, and I don't feel like I'm there yet, but I'm gonna just have to power through it. So I like the idea of the IV therapy. It makes sense, especially if combined with the supplements that you guys are already have been talking about for
and
years,
lifestyle changes and things like that. Now, I do want Angie to touch a little bit on how our IVs are different than some of the ones that she's used for the last 8 years.
Yes, so when I started working with Janine and talking about all the benefits of the IV therapy, she said, Angie, they have preservatives. We can't deal with preservatives. And I said, I've been seeing such great outcomes with this for, close to a decade. I just really don't feel like there's any harm. And then I, took a second look at some of the side effects of said preservatives. I'm like, oh, this is a lot of what I'm trying to avoid, which is causing inflammation and endocrine disruption. So we are now doing them 100% preservative-free. It's not the cheapest way to do it, but I'm so thrilled to be working with these providers because they have the same heart that I do. It's about access to care and helping patients change lives. So they have allowed me to price it very competitively. I've always told patients, ask that go to elective IV vitamin therapy, ask what dose you're getting, because I've always tried to do it highest dose possible for the most economical and attainable one, and they have really allowed me to do that. So we do have preservative-free.
Yeah, with the company that we found for the IVs, they have extreme dosing, I would say. And part of it is when you have it without preservatives, you have to use the whole vial at one time. So we are offering, you can get the extreme amount, which we think you shouldn't start with that. And so, but we're doing a lower, moderate amount. It is still way stronger than all the other IVs out there. And we're actually lower than most of the ones out there for IVs.
It must be said, you can't just come into the clinic, the store, which if you've never been there, if you're headed towards Gulfport on Pass Road, you turn left on Cowan. It's the first building on the left after the Walgreens. It's got a sign like this on the road. You absolutely can't miss it. You can't just walk in and say, I want to get IV nutrition.
No.
You need to consult
It does
first.
require a good faith relationship, an exam, medical history. We have to make sure that you're an appropriate candidate. And we want to make sure that it's tailored and focused towards your goals. Like Janine was saying, I always want patients to have, good quality daily supplements. If IV therapy is something that's attainable for you, fantastic. But if not, we will find a way to meet you at your price point and definitely give you some options to improve the trajectory of your health.
But the good thing, just like how we do it with everything else, where you just walk in and talk to us, you can actually just walk in and talk to Angie as well. So in order to talk to her to see if you're a candidate, there's no charge, because that's going to be a question that people have if I don't mention it. You can just come in and ask her and say, am I a candidate for this? And she can kind of talk to you and decide and go from there. So there is no charge to come talk to her, but you do have to talk to her first because she has to order it.
And we talk about on this show at least every single week, it comes up once that you guys are treating and speaking to and helping people younger in the life cycle.
Yeah.
You're seeing people as they're earlier than you've ever seen them before. So I know you're not going to be like dealing with infants, but do you work with children? Do you work with
Ages
teens,
13 and
adolescents?
up.
So 13 and up. Okay. Because these are things that, because you have kids on supplements.
Yeah, oh no, we deal with kids of all ages with supplements. So supplements, any age.
Yeah.
So, but once they get to 13 and up, then we can maybe start having conversations about how to increase what you're doing by.
If they need it.
Sure.
I mean, that's the thing.
Absolutely.
If they need it, you always want to
There's
look
gotta
and
be a
see
need.
who is, needs it.
Yeah. I've saved some kids who trained a little too hard on the fields, and had game the next day. So definitely comfortable with our teenage populations. And we're so happy that people are really starting to take initiative of their health younger. Biohacking and anti-aging and longevity are real exciting buzzwords right now. And,
Biohacking, I love
we
it.
are happy
Yeah.
to have the conversation with people, more people coming to the table to talk about it with us.
Perfect. So also, we need to mention that the pricing is on the website if you're interested. That information is there. We have a couple more questions. Is the IV a great option instead of
Peptides for
perimenopause?
For perimenopause, it can be helpful when you have some of the sleep issues. It can improve sleep for most people. It can help with inflammation, a little extra energy with the Bs. We do hormone replacement therapy. We do that a little different as well, very conservatively, but I guess that's a topic for another day.
And you do, she is going to be doing the peptides as well. She is in the middle of getting her peptide list together.
Yeah,
There we go.
so I've been working with NAD and Sermorelin for several years, but the options are expanding, which is exciting. We'll only be doing them from 503B and A regulated, FDA regulated pharmacies, so it's clean.
There it is. What is the cost of the IV therapy program? Those prices we just mentioned are on the website. They vary based on what you're going to be getting.
Yes.
Come in, have a chat with Angie, and she can go over kind of what that is. We're going to talk about a special that we're having in just a minute. Are Alzheimer's and dementia related?
Yeah.
Yes.
Years ago, we didn't have the word Alzheimer's until Dr. Alzheimer's got involved in it. Prior to that, it was dementia. Where there was various kinds. I mean, senile dementia, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's all part of that.
It's all a neurodegenerative.
Right.
I mean, neurodegeneration is what it is. And so they're in the same family. They are lumping some people with Alzheimer's and some people with dementia. Strokes a lot of times will cause dementia, where it's actually the stroke that caused the problem, not an actual other problem like tau proteins.
Right.
Yeah.